You will not find that in any textbook. You will not find the laws of the Canadian workplace culture as a book. But what you would find is understanding after you spend time with people, after you get to understand the nuances and the conversations, the culture, you're able to do research, you realize that there are actual certain things that you need to shift, certain ways of thinking that need to no longer happen.
Many times as immigrants, especially new immigrants, you find that you always ask yourself questions, things like, did I make the right move? Am I in the right place? What if I don't succeed? And all those questions. I know that because I've been there before. And I know many immigrants in my conversations with them also tell me they ask themselves those questions. So for today's episode on the CSM Lounge, we are going to be answering those questions to you as an immigrant. I've got a guest here who we're going to be deep diving into that topic. But before we do that, if you're new here, welcome. This is the CSM Migrant, and this channel is for people who are building real careers, both in tech, cybersecurity, or tech-adjacent industries, but especially new immigrants and career switchers. If you've been subscribed to the channel already and you've watched one of our previous videos, thank you, and welcome back to another video on the channel. If you're new here, welcome. We're glad you're here. And here's what we do. Every month, we bring you real conversations on the CSM Migrant podcast, as well as broader tech conversations on the CSM Lounge. We provide practical career growth, how-to content, and privacy reviews of everyday tech. So if you care about careers, technology, protecting your future, hit subscribe, check out the playlist, and share this with someone who needs it. Now, let's get to this video. A guest today is someone I admire from a long time ago. We met a few years ago, and she's gone from when I first met her, and she's been growing and succeeding, and now she has her own consultancy. Join me in welcoming Kemi Bankole to the CSM Lounge. Kemi, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Femi. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for inviting me on here to have this conversation. My name is Kemi Bankole. I'm the principal consultant of Kemi Bankole Consulting. I help people, immigrant professionals who are in different stages of their career with the entire full cycle of the career space, which include resume revamps, interview preparation stages, career transitioning from mid-level to high-level career people, as well as, finally landing that actual offer. So I walk people through the entire process, and thank you for the opportunity to share.
Glad to have you on here. Now, for the audience, for those who don't know, Kemi is a highly successful and what's the word I'm looking for? She's highly credentialed. That's the word. She's a very highly credentialed individual. Kemi has a degree. She's got an MBA. She's got her PMP. She's got years of experience. She's also an immigrant. So she knows exactly what this is all about. So Kemi, tell the audience exactly what's your story like from where you started, getting to where you are running Kemi Bankole Consulting at the moment.
So much, Femi. A bit about my story. It's a story I'd love to share. Heard from people as fact that it resonated with them. So that's why I constantly do share this story. But really, it's an average story of an immigrant, a girl who leaves her family, everything she knows in her home country, Nigeria, and, moves over to Canada, Vancouver specifically. And it was, of course, a big move, a big step. I took everything I had, all the businesses that I had over there, where I was doing more recruitment in the recruitment agency, having to leave all those behind, some of my other beauty businesses, and come over here, start from scratch. Started a program and was really tough. I remember a time at about 6 months in when I actually had no more money in my account, and I had not landed a job, had nothing to my name. And I remember one thing I told my family actually before arriving in Canada here was that was not going to do a survival job. Again, not from a place of pride or because I thought I'm better than the next person. Absolutely not. Just from maybe some sense of understanding, sense of self-belief, call it whatever. In that 6 months, let me be real with you all in this podcast. On the 6th month when the money finished, I was about to eat my words. I'm like I may need to get down, and get into all these survival jobs, of course, and like try to find something to at least be able to pay my rent. And I was so close
This
to it.
close. This close.
But this was like it's almost. And I just remember getting that first opportunity that opened the doors for me to learn about the Canadian culture, learn about the space. It was actually with Apple Inc. And,
Mm, mm, mm.
I got in there. It really helped me to be able to understand the language, the culture, Canada, how it works, and relate with people around in that environment. So it was a really good stepping stone where I went in as an account manager, was amazing, did well. However, it was not my passion. And then, of course, I transitioned, started looking for other things that were more related to, of course, then I was part time. Then I needed something full time after completing my degree and something that I was actually passionate about, which was more in the HR project management space. And,
Mhm.
as God will have it, actually, months in after that, after my graduation, actually, I started applying, got a lot of rejection, still struggling through it, trying to understand what exactly is the Canadian recruiter looking for. I have all these skills, all this experience, and still nothing. I remember doing interviews, and in the last stage, they'll just tell me, "Oh, sorry, we went with somebody else." And I'm like, what exactly am I saying or not saying that's making these
Mm,
recruiters
mm.
not go with me as as their final candidates to land that offer? It was in that midst of digging deep and trying to have an understanding of the system and doing lots of research that I was able to unlock what I call the key, key,
Mhm,
the
mhm.
key,
Oh, very
and
important. Yeah.
really said that happened. I found that I had a lot of open doors, and I'll share with Femi, sometime in the past when we just had a brief conversation as to the fact that I had about 7 job offers where about 3 of those offers were government organizations and 4 were private organizations. I'd actually started a role with a small business, and they had actually they had actually let me go. So it was something that I was very, I would call it almost upset, because I was really an assistant CEO in that organization. It was a small business, like I said. Their reason was that the CEO actually he went on to do about 2 new mortgages while he was paying me, and realized that who is the cheapest, who is the disposable person that I can let go of, because of course his properties he had just signed
Yeah.
on, right? And he realized like he
Yeah.
was in a
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
things were tight. So he let me go. But I think that experience still made him my biggest advocate, and a big reference to me till this day. And all those 7 job offers came, that same advocate, like I was saying, was somebody who was speaking towards me and saying, "No, Kemi is the best. She's amazing, this and that." I just can't afford to pay her now. And all of those type of reviews,
Mm,
right? So it
yeah.
really helped me. And then in that moment, having all those job first, I was able to select one that felt more stable for me, because I tried private. I did not like it because the inconsistency and that volatility. And I'm like, absolutely
Yeah.
not with
Yeah.
the 4
Yeah.
privates. And in that situation, I picked the one that really was really flexible for me. That, of course, good pay, great benefits, and all of those things. So, though that was where that decision making process came from me,
Yeah.
part of my
Yeah.
story
Yeah.
and journey, just letting you know that it did not just start one day, I did not just land here and magic happened. No, it took a lot of research and time and, effort that I put in to be able to get to where I am today. So that is something that a lot of people can resonate with as well.
Fantastic. And I'm so happy for you. And again, yes, she did tell me. I remember we were speaking about this and I was like, you got 3, well, look, you got 7 job offers, of which 3 were public sector and 4 were private. I don't think I know anyone who has ever had 7 job offers. It's like being at an ice cream shop and seeing all the various flavors and deciding which one do I want to have, right? But then that gets me thinking. So you unlocked the secrets. I found the key that gets you a way to break into corporate Canada. So what actually works? Beyond the generic advice everyone says, network, write your resume the Canadian way, blah, blah, blah. What really works when you want to break into corporate Canada?
What really works? Okay. So I will start with some of the more obvious answers, including the resume side of things, right? Because you can do everything or majority of the other things, and resume just looks really bad, and nobody's going to give a second look. So I still have to emphasize on that resume revamp being the first thing that a recruiter will look at and be like, okay, I think this candidate might have the skills that I need. So that is definitely important. I would still refer again to the networking piece. I don't want to throw away any of these tools because they all go hand in hand, right? And it's not just networking. I know a lot of people talk about networking. It's call it relationship building. So there's a
Bingo.
difference between difference between sending connection requests on LinkedIn and actually getting to build a relationship with somebody, right? So you may meet somebody at some event, conference, it is exchange, laughs over wine, over drinks, over nice food at the conference, and then it just ends there. And you connect with them, of course, collect their LinkedIn because you're trying to make your LinkedIn look good and then post them, tag them. But that is not relationship building. Relationship building is the message you send to them after the event to say, thank you so much. I had a great time. Thank you for having the conversation with me. Let us keep in touch. I'd love to go for coffee chat to discuss more. Those type of conversations that makes that person think about you top of mind. If any opportunity that has aligned with your conversations happens and it's more something that's more cohesive, some works better than just cold emailing or cold messaging somebody to say, oh, I see you work in this organization. Can you please refer me? Humans are selfish, really. So
It's a human
why would
thing. That's probably how
anyone?
I think of myself first, right?
Yes. So when you think about it that way, what really would make or move somebody to actually stick their neck in the line for you? It will be a relationship and the value that they can, that you've provided, and just that genuineness that you have about you. So I would not let go of that piece. Another piece, which is part of why I shared a bit of that detail of my story, would be having people who can advocate for you, which still ties into the networking piece. Like I was saying, when people saw that short-term period, really, my resume, which is the role that I had done, where I was let go, as I was saying, and they have had questions around it. Oh, why did you only work for them for couple of months? What happened? Then they see an accompanying reference letter, which was a 3-pager, by the way. He was describing me as his assistant, like basically the assistant CEO. I was the HR manager, operations manager, property manager, doing so many different things. So it really went a long way because that person was advocating for me and did not want me to suffer for their own financial mistakes, was really, putting in the word for me to have a deeper explanation in case anybody had any questions around that experience. So it's again part of not when things happen, right? I could have just shut the door. I could have just done something, really bad, people leak company secrets out of anger and all these different things. However, I decided to handle it professionally. And in that scenario, in that situation, it helped to maintain that relationship where this person, I can still call this person till date, the reference for me. In any situation. So that is one thing that I think people are missing in different scenarios where they don't have anybody advocating for them who is in a place of authority, or they have not built those relationships. So that's one thing that I think is key thing people should look out for. Again, in this world, money is so good. Yes, we love money. Trust me, money is nice. However,
It's nice to have
relationships
money.
are very important. So I think that piece is really the solution.
So you've heard it here. You heard it here first. Make sure you build those relationships. It's not just making contacts on LinkedIn. Hey, I have 5,000 followers and connections. No, it's more
No.
than that. You've got to have a relationship. There's a give and take. When it is a relationship, it involves a give and take. But that's some great insights there, Kemi. Thank you so much for that. As you're speaking, I was thinking of something there because you were talking about back to when you did the right thing, got the key, revamped your resume as appropriately, and you got all those offers. Now, I know that because with Kemi Bankole Consulting, you're also in the HR consulting space, and then also what you do for your regular 9 to 5 as well is also HR related. So you've got some insider info as to the things that hiring managers see. So I wanted to ask you, what would you say is the insider HR perspective of the things that hiring managers see, but candidates tend to miss? Candidates look at the job description and think, oh, I think this is what they want, and then they write their application based off of that. But then they miss the things the hiring manager is actually looking for. Insider info, can you give us about it? Reading a job description and then telling your application, which means your resume, your cover letter, whatever it is, to actually meet the questions and the requirements of that job description.
I think a recent one for us recruiters that we have been seeing in most times is around the AI. This AI innovation, AI is taking over and we love it. I love AI, right? However,
Yeah,
I
we all
find
do.
that especially in this space, a lot of candidates is framing and shaping their resume so specifically to fit that job description. As a recruiter, when I see their meeting that they have, there's a way something genuinely just fits versus forces itself to fit to a certain metric, right?
Yep.
I find that a lot of people make the mistake of, because they want to have high ATS scores and all these, resume scores and all of these things, they use AI to ensure that it has all the keywords and it's packed and all of that. And I'm
Tell
not
me about that. What is
disputing,
that? What is that about?
not disputing the fact, but people have to look at it from the perspective of the fact that how they feel like they know AI and they're utilizing AI. We recruiters are also in our own ways utilizing it, and we also have knowledge about it. We also know on the other end that people are using AI. So if something looks really AI fitted, exactly matching the entire job description with all the metrics, all the exact metrics that are needed, if we say 90%, they specifically say the 90%, metric and all of these different things, trying to match those things. Whereas in real life, some things may not be match, but other things may match. Some things may be considered an asset, and other things are more, compulsory in that job description, right? So I think from that perspective of fact that everybody has the same resume these days because everybody's
We're all
familiar
writing with
with
the
the
same
exact
AI.
job description. Yes, everybody's using the same ChatGPT. Everybody's using the same Claude. So you as a recruiter, you're looking at and you're like, I thought I read this person's resume 2 minutes ago, and you realize that it's actually two different names, but the exact same resume and the exact same qualifications, right? So those are some of the things, the diversity and the variety of like strengths that they have is not as much, and it's more very curated in that way, which obviously shows red flags, right? Because we now cannot trust the value and the genuineness of what is written there. So I find that a lot of recruiters are actually just going on LinkedIn by themselves to actually search for people who naturally match. There was no job description, right? But their profiles actually naturally match into the description that they're looking for and the job that they're looking for. So they would go into their own DMs to say, okay, you didn't apply for this. I think you'll be fit and match based on everything that I've seen so far. And then there, that it's not an AI thing. It's not something that they were trying to do. It's something that they obviously already had, skills that were already part of their portfolio.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm not going to mention the name of the tool. Just as you were speaking, I was thinking of the tool. And I remember speaking to someone a few years ago when she was trying to get her resume redone and apply for a job. And she said someone told her to go use this tool, paste in the job description and then paste in your resume. And I kid you not, all that tool was doing, I'm sure you know the tool I'm talking about, was looking for every word in the job description and making sure that word was on the resume. And I'm like, that is just stupid. But again, they've got to make money, so whatever way it is. And I've always told people, if you want to apply for a job or revamp your resume, please do not use that tool. It's a really bad tool for your resume, so don't use it. And I'm sure you know the tool I'm talking about, but I don't want them to sue me, so I'm going to keep quiet. I'm going to keep quiet.
Fair enough.
Yes. But there's something else I also wanted to talk about, and you and I can probably relate to this quite a bit more than some, the cultural nuances, and reframing your narrative. Because coming from a country like Nigeria, where culturally things are very different, and then we move to a country like Canada where it's very almost diametrically opposed. No, coming from Nigeria, even if it's in a work environment, we're still very, very differential to your superiors, your bosses or anyone who's higher up the chain. You don't say anything when they talk. They really expect you to have an opinion because it's what they say that you do, that kind of thing. And then here in Canada, everybody expects you to advocate for yourself. So how would you advise especially new immigrants or those who are just getting into the industry, to navigate those cultural nuances, workplace culture and etiquette? Because again, there's so much more to being successful in a career than just being able to apply for a job, write a resume and get it. There's other things that need to be done properly too as well. So what advice do you have for anyone who's thinking about those things right now?
Hey, I'm just going to share a brief conversation I
I
had
love
with a
stories. I love stories.
client. And originally, that client was looking for my interview prep services. They had scaled
Mm-hmm.
through, they had a great resume. So, meaning they were landing interviews. However, they were not landing the final offer. They were just fresh off the plane, not spent a lot of time here in Canada yet, and of course did
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
have an understanding, had not done any research about the environment. So one thing, in their experience, they didn't even have to tell me, but all they kept saying was they were not able to land the role. They were not able to land the role and all of that. And I was curious as to why. One thing I noticed when we began the call was that the moment the call started, they refer to me as hi ma, hi miss or Mrs. I think, according a title that I do not even possess, right? Because I'm not a Mrs. But just that having that extra layer of respect or adding all of those things and responding
Yeah.
to my messages with to my everything I was saying with the man, like trying to be cautious and all of that. And of course, that is extremely applicable to the Nigerian system or to the African system where those values, that culture, that respect is completely needed. However, in the
Yeah.
Canadian environment, it's something that's completely frowned upon, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
something
Mm-hmm.
that it looks like you're trying to get favor from your employer because you are calling them a certain name, and people do not even like, they feel like it's you. There's the part of ageism that is even felt, right? Making
Ageism,
such
yeah.
references. Right. So there's so much that goes into it that a lot of people who, of course, just come in here and not aware of. And again, you will not find that in any textbook. You will not find the laws of the Canadian workplace culture as a
Mm-hmm.
the book. But what you would find is understanding after you spend time with people, after you get to understand the nuances and the conversations, the culture, you're able to do research. You realize that there are actual certain things that you need to shift, certain ways of
Mm.
thinking that need to no longer happen. I remember I was sharing on my LinkedIn recently where, based on my experience, of course, back home in my home country, Nigeria, where I'm back at work late after work and like working and struggling and hours after everyone goes and you're, still there and in a sense it's seen as you're a diligent person. Whereas there was that culture shock coming here and they're like, no, that means you're not efficient because why are you spending extra hours outside of your scheduled hours doing some extra work?
Yeah.
It can always wait till the next day. So again, perspective is always different. And when
Different.
you've been in that bubble, African bubble, for example, or the European, but whatever, whatever part of the world you've been in with these nuances, just seems
Mm-hmm.
normal.
Mm-hmm.
But when you come to a Western culture like the Canadian culture, it's completely abnormal and frowned upon. And it's important to
Yeah. Yeah.
understand what they're looking for because that's part of the reason why people or recruiters say things around or employers say things around Canadian experience. What they're really trying to say is, do you understand the culture? Understand the
Yeah.
Canadian
Yeah.
culture? Do you understand
Yeah.
what we're
Yeah.
looking for?
Yeah.
That teamwork, that cohesiveness, that collaboration, able to work with people and in a way where you understand the culture and what is right and what is not right, what is frowned upon and what is, healing or relevant in the workplace. So those kind of nuances are some of the things that people typically don't look at, don't think about, but really matter and really shape as the reason why many immigrants are not able to, maybe even when they land the job, they find that people will refer
It's a
to them
struggle.
as rude or being, yes, they struggle. People say, oh, you're too loud. And then that person felt like that's their natural tone. Whereas in some cultures, you don't shout when you're talking in a
Yeah.
calm tone, in a softer voice, and that can be seen
Yeah.
come off as aggressive to some.
Yeah.
So whereas
Yeah.
in your
Yeah.
own culture, that's just the way you normally talk. So there's all these nuances to things, and it's important to learn what the culture you are in is about, and really apply everything that you're doing, all your efforts into transferring and ensuring that you're imbibing those cultures.
I completely agree. I remember that post you spoke about. We pay the tax, the unseen hidden tax that we pay for, we want to make sure that we are noticed. We're staying back late. We're doing the extra work. Nobody asked you for that. You're not going to get extra pay for that. So please don't do it. I'm not saying don't be diligent. Be diligent, but you know what I mean.
I
Also,
do.
I also find it quite interesting that, yes, you are right. It's very culturally different. And that's usually where most people do struggle. We don't understand what the struggle is, what the culture is like here. And then we get here because some people, they just don't understand the differences, right? And then it's a bit of a challenge for them. So totally understand that, totally agree with that. Now let's change tack a bit briefly and talk about something slightly different. Particularly in recent years, many of the people, especially new immigrants, not just African immigrants, because we know there's a lot of immigration from other countries, Asia as well, Europe as well, lots of those. That's sort of thing that I like about Canada. It's a melting pot. It's a rich tapestry of different cultures, regions, peoples. It's really diverse. But you find that many people who are moving here now as new immigrants aren't exactly green to the career industry. They've been working in some role. Some of them are mid-level people. Some of them are even senior already, right? But just because the fact that they've come to a different country, it looks like they're starting all over again. And that sort of puts a unique pressure on them. I'm not an entry-level position. I'm kind of like mid-career. I'm trying to get into a senior role. And then because they're a new immigrant, they sort of struggle. People say, I have to go start lower, but I've been doing this so much, I shouldn't be starting at that level because, again, I'm a lot better than that level that it is. There's a unique pressure that those kind of people face trying to pivot into their new careers as immigrants. What advice would you have for people like that?
Well, for people who come in here, and these are actually the majority of my clients, people who have been bank managers in their home countries, India, Nigeria, part of Africa, around the world, and they come here and they are not getting any jobs and have to, of course, take on some other jobs that they are not passionate about. In some cases, of course, people find that they love it and they start feeling some form of fulfillment in those. However, I found that a lot of them actually do not love it and causes more harm than good, because then you start seeing news about certain issues or challenges that people face and like things around the lack of diligence in that work, because it's just something that it's not does not come natural to you. You don't have the same empathy that it takes to do social work, and you're just doing it because there's a paycheck at the end of it. So in that sense, I have met a lot of people in similar situations, right? And I would say that it's important to come here with a plan and kind of plan around, start understanding, doing research about the culture, research about Canada, what the job environment is like, what transferable skills you have. Educations are needed. I feel like immigrants, first of all, get a lot of certifications that we don't need. And, just try to pad things up and like overcompensate and all of these things. An MBA and you're doing something in HR, you have this and you're still doing like and I'm not, of course,
It's a lot.
disputing or downplaying any of those certifications, right? I have some myself, just had Femi had opened up and told all of you about. However, nonetheless, I find that a lot of people start doing like some of these micro certifications and trying to pack things up, whereas they actually already have the knowledge, have the skills, they have transferable skills that apply directly in any job career pivot that they're looking to do, or in any role that they're looking to take on, is directly applicable to the Canadian system. So it's understanding where where those ends meet, meeting in that middle, and understanding or navigating the direction that you're looking to go with, and finding a pathway into your actual career, your field, the field that you really want to be in, whether it's a continued field from your home country or even if it's a career transition. Some of those things are important information to acquire. Research is completely needed. Having clarity is needed to understand the pathway to go with and what actually works, because there's no point spending so much time in a role that may have paid in your home country. For example, like a typewriter. Somebody who works with the typewriter, for example, in certain climes might be relevant. I think it's really not relevant in any clime, but it's just an example I'm giving where you may not have any role available here, right? So also just having that open mindset to take on or to get into like a career pivot if needed, or transition to things that work best for this Western economy, but are still preserving your dignity and are not things that you are not capable of doing.
That's totally true. And I completely agree with it. I think sometimes also, like you already said, there's that confidence issue. There's also the fact that, I've had this before. And I think for most immigrants, and this is me speaking personally, I think the biggest challenge has always been that inability to adapt, especially for those of us who come and we're not fresh, we're not green when you're starting out. We've got some experience under the belt. It's so hard to teach an old dog new tricks, or is that how the saying goes, right? So that can be a challenge for many people. So it's really hard to surmount that. I don't make light of it in any way, but I think it's something that definitely it's a skill that can be learned, a skill that can be improved upon to get you better. And that leads me into my next question. That leads me to my next question. Career transitions, because that's something that we begin to see a lot more of that in these days. Again, in some ways, we can blame AI for part of that. We're seeing a lot of people start out, they go into school, get a degree in one field, start working in a different field, and then they realize, oh, I'm going to transition into a different field again. Career transitions are beginning to be very common. And I think even among immigrants, it's a huge, huge number. I know a lot of immigrants personally who had a different career back in their home countries, and here they have a very different career. Like you said, some are in healthcare, some are in construction. It's a variety of those. Some are in cybersecurity as well. But one of the big challenges is that confidence and identity side of career transitions, because people transition to a career sometimes because of a lack of confidence, or sometimes because of a lack of identity, like you alluded to. And that's not something a lot of people talk about a lot. We don't talk about it enough openly. What insights can you share around, particularly around the confidence and identity side of career transitions? I think people struggle with those things. How can I, as a new immigrant, or maybe not new, but as an immigrant, how can I build the confidence to maintain my identity and not just get swayed by the next shiny thing? Oh, look, shiny thing. And then after that, swayed by the wind. How can I remain true to my identity and have the confidence to stick with it for the long haul?
Thank you. So one of the services I offer actually is the free career clarity session, where we go through understanding what the challenges are, even with your career transitioning pathway for some of my clients, where they find that for example, were in the banking industry back home, and they come over here and they're actually done with the banking industry and are looking to pivot into something completely different, either a business management role or transitioning to something completely different in finance or something. So really, I find that a lot of people are definitely struggling with that confidence issue. I have spoken to quite a number of people. So at the same time, like I say, many of these experiences and the reason why I do what I do is because I also struggle with these same things. So I can come from that place of understanding, real understanding of same feelings, because you still feel inadequate in a way when you're trying to transition to something and you're like, is this skill actually transferable? Is this adequate? Like, am I adequate enough for this? Okay, I've never done this before. So can I really claim that I understand what this means, or what this role means, and that I'm able to really be excellent in this role? And the answer is yes, absolutely. There's nothing that's not teachable. The way people go to university for 4 or 5 years to get degrees, people go for a year or two for diplomas, and suddenly they're being called AI engineer. Suddenly they're being called, civil engineer. The point I'm making is we never started as doctors or as nurses. We started as babies, and we got to learn part of the training process, what we're passionate about, what we saw. So my point is just that the confidence should emanate from the fact that you believe you have all the skills that are necessary and needed for the role that you're looking to go into. Of course, there's a place where confidence stops though, because if you're trying to transition from maybe role, would I say, maybe from being an engineer to a doctor, there's a wide gap somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So
True.
your confidence should not be that high. Those times they definitely need a little more skill, of course. However, for more what I call it roles, for different roles that are more relevant to transferable skills, where it's more of, for example, an example I typically give to all my clients is that I feel like for project management, everybody's a project manager. Ask me why. So really, a janitor,
projects every day.
Yes, a janitor is a project manager, an admin assistant is a project manager, an assistant is a project manager. Everyone is a project manager because you are managing projects every day. You're managing the project of your life. It's a project on its own.
I mean, have you tried to go grocery shopping recently?
For sure. Really dislike grocery shopping. That traumatized me a bit then, Femi. But just going back to the point is that the reason why is because there's so many different transferable skills, right? You're working with a budget,
Yeah.
you're working with a
Yeah.
timeline, you're working with
Yeah.
stakeholders, you're working with deadlines. So you need to know,
Yeah.
okay, I need to
Yeah.
clean this place up in so time because the students are coming. They cannot have it messy in this way. And I need
Yeah.
to, organize things based on the budget that I was given, the resources that was provided to me. And I need to report this to the people who are employing me. So all of these different things, when you think about it from that perspective, I don't think it will be difficult for anybody to go into project management. Of course, you may need to learn more of the technical skills, like the product side of things and some of more
Yeah.
technical
Yeah.
sides of things. But really, there's a lot of transferable skills in many different roles that transfer directly to some other roles. So do not feel like an imposter, for example, if you are looking to transition into a role that you have actually developed the skills for, and a role that you've actually done things in your, whether you had a different title perhaps, right? Maybe you were a business manager and you're trying to become a project manager now, an operational manager and you're trying to become a project manager now. There's a lot of transferable skills that you can bring from that experience you already had into this new transition that you're looking to go.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I empower
Mm-hmm.
you to be confident about your transition. There's nobody that knows everything, right? We all learn. So
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah.
you need some learning, some certifications, do as you must, right? However, even with the skills that you have, think about the skills you have from that perspective. If you're able to manage all of these things and manage all these budgets and deadlines, you should be able to apply that into a completely different role with
Yeah.
the skills that
Yeah.
you already exist in.
Same
So that's the
skills.
response to your
Yeah.
question, Femi, about the confidence side of things and really what to do and how to look at it, the perspective to which to look at.
Yeah. So that means that brings me back to what we said earlier. Remain true to yourself. You've shared so many insights, so many nuggets. Let me put you on the spot here, if I could, for a minute. Again, assuming I was a new immigrant or fairly new immigrant,
Mhm.
I'm looking to get into the career, build my career, do something. And I said, hey, Kemi, what are 3 things I can do to ensure I find success in my career? Of course, that's aside from signing up as a client for Kemi Bankole Consulting, of course, but what's 3
That's
things I
number
can do
one.
to help me help me find success as, with my new career? What would you advise?
To find success in your career, one of the things or the 3 things I would advise would be I would not stop advising the networking thing. We've already gone through that, the relationship building
Yeah,
part of
yeah,
things. I've overemphasized on that part. So keep that, hold that with you. Never let it go. Build those relationships. Next would be skill building. All the skills that you've mastered from different things. Maybe you may have a side project or business where you're an event planner,
yeah,
you're managing projects, you're helping people with proposals, engagement, weddings, all of these different things. You're managing projects. All of these things can be transferred to, even if
yeah,
you've
yeah,
always
yeah,
worked as an independent business owner, you can definitely be a project manager in that situation because you
yeah,
have worked with all these high stake events that if they don't go right, things really crumble or fall apart, right? Those are even the
yeah,
more
yeah,
emotional
true.
aspects. Talk us about the more serious aspects of like the business side of things and the actual impacts that some of these things could bring. That would be another advice I would give to build your skills. Another
Okay,
thing I would say
okay.
would be to get mentorship. So people who have actually already done these things, people who have actually walked the pathways, been able to be successful in whatever field that you're looking at, be that in that cybersecurity space. Of course, Femi is your number one mentor. The career consulting set of things you're looking for, if you are looking to get into the same field, I'm always available and I'm happy to help people in the community to, get to acquire these skills and to, of course, have this understanding to help others. So really, you need to be able to get a mentor, somebody that you can shadow, you can speak with, who you can get nuggets from, understanding information, real information. Information is key. The key
Yeah,
that
yeah,
I don't know is it's the everlasting key. Really, it keeps giving.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you need
yeah.
information from people who have already walked. You don't necessarily need to make the same mistakes. There are people who have made those mistakes, learned from them,
Exactly.
and grown
Yeah,
past them. So you just need to follow their trajectory, especially since you're somebody who's just starting. And then when you have that pathway that's really laid out to you, you find that you're more successful and there's less hiccups along the way. Those are the 3 things I would advise any immigrant who is coming here and looking to, transition in their career and all these things. Definitely build your skills. Definitely have a mentor, somebody that you look up to who can give you pure advice, can I give you unbiased advice, by the way, information, of course, build relationship with people all across in different industries, in different fields, have conversations. You just never know who is hiring for an opportunity or who knows about an opportunity that's open.
That's absolutely true. So you heard it here first, people. Relationships, upskill, mentorship. Those three things are crucial if you want to, reinvent and reignite your career, especially as a new immigrant. And I know this is so true. Kemi and I were at an event recently. She's in the HR space. I'm in the cybersecurity space. We were at an event that was talking about cybersecurity. Who knew HR and cyber in the same room at the same time at the same event? So you never can tell. It's been such a pleasure having you on here, Kemi, today. You've shared so many insights, and I'm pretty sure that most of the audience are going to find this useful. But if I may ask, if our audience wanted to get in touch with you, see what you do, follow you, maybe sign up for a session or two, how can they find you?
Please make it two, not the one, not the session or two. Make it two. Okay, so
100%.
just thank you so much, Femi, for, of course, the great conversation that we've had so far. For anyone looking to get in touch with me, you can always reach me on my website. It's www.kemibankoleconsulting.com. You can also reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's Kemi Bankole. You'll see a few. There's only one. I'm joking. There's a few, but when you see the one with the MBA and the PMP and all of those certifications, you have landed
all the
on
alphabet
my
soup
profile.
after your name.
You have landed on my page. Outside of that, I'm active on social media, Instagram with Kemi Bankole Consulting, where you can to see all the tips and nuggets. On my website, you're able to book a free 30-minute session with me. Typically do this for everyone, whether you're looking to pay me, whether you're looking to DIY, whatever the case may be. I love to have these conversations with people and give this free direction to them so that they're able to look back and say, okay, I actually got something out of this conversation and I know the next step. So please feel free. It's free. Book a 30 minutes career clarity session with me. It's on my website, kemibankoleconsulting.com. And there we can go ahead with proving your career, getting you to the place that you want to go in your career. Thank you.
There you go, people. Never say I never did anything for you. There's some things you can get right out of this episode. Go talk to Kemi. I want to just say thank you again to Kemi for coming on today. It's been such a very interesting conversation, and I think it's what we've needed to have already. Don't worry about trying to find all those links. Just look down in the description below, and I'm going to have all those links to Kemi's website, Kemi's LinkedIn, Kemi's social media. They're all down in the description below, so just click on that and you can actually get in touch with Kemi directly. So I've made it a lot easier for you to reach out to Kemi. Again, I just want, on behalf of the audience, want to say thank you to you, Kemi, for coming on. The good thing about it is that you've done so well, and when people do so well, what happens? We ask them back again. So I just might ask you back again for a future episode. We'll see how that goes, right? But again, on behalf of the audience, thank you so much for coming on today. I would appreciate that. Thank you for coming on today. And to the audience, thank you for watching this episode of the CSM Lounge. If you enjoyed this, share this with someone who you think could learn from this. Give us your feedback on the comments down below. Let me know what you think about this episode, and like and share, because your share helps us grow. Continue to put out more great content for you. And until next time on the CSM Lounge, this is Femi saying goodbye. Be true to yourself, and don't let anyone stop you from achieving your dreams. And I'll see you in the next one.